Ubisoft wants to change up the Far Cry formula with Far Cry 7 and Maverick. Tom Henderson over at Insider Gaming. In 2023, Insider Gaming had several reports on the Far Cry series throughout the year. Notably, the Far Cry series currently has 2 games in development, which were both originally under the same game and then codenamed Talisker. Its next mainline title is now under the codename Blackbird, and an extraction-based shooter is under the codename Maverick. Both games are still in development at the time of writing, but their release dates have been pushed back internally from 2025 to 2026 due to complexities in development, moving from their current engine over to Snowdrop. And under development at Ubisoft Montreal, both games are set to move away from the Far Cry formula. Maverick, which takes place in the Alaskan Wilderness, will see players fight one another, animals, and harsh weather to survive. On the flip side, Blackbird will now see the player have to rescue his family, not played by Cillian Murphy, who have been kidnapped by a conspiracy cult, who have been performing holonostic experiments on animals and children. This one's gonna be, this one's gonna be deadly. I like it. It said that the player has 24 hours of real life hours, in fact, 72 hours in game to rescue their family, and the timer is reflected in game by the player wearing a watch on his wrist. But it isn't just the gameplay loop of both games changing. It's understood that both games have had a significant overhaul to their movement systems too, including the addition of tactical sprinting, sliding, vaulting, and more. Seemingly, this is due to both projects originating from the same game and sharing similar movement mechanics, with the similarities of both games bleeding into one another. Other aspects, including the inventory system and looting, also appear to bleed from the extraction shooter into Blackbird too, with sources outlining that it doesn't affect the mainline entry. Quote, "I'd argue it makes a lot of sense given your desperation to rescue your family," end quote, said one source when asked. Internally, Ubisoft Montreal and its supporting studios on Blackbird are optimistic, but some concerns over Maverick and its future loom given recent events at the publisher. Ubisoft have been attempting to do Far Cry multiplayer for the best part of a decade. Yeah, they certainly have. And while an extraction shooter could make a lot of sense in the Far Cry universe, I actually think it fits really well, Michael. We'll get there. It was ultimately greenlit to chase trends. That's the problem.
Yeah.
And the genre doesn't seem to have attracted players numbers that the industry thought it would. X-Defiant's recent cancellation and subsequent layoffs felt at the beginning of a downward spiral, said some staff. With Eve's internal memo following the announcement of cancellation not inspiring much confidence in those already unsure about the project's future. For now, Ubisoft seemingly trying to break away its own trends, chasing trends in Far Cry 7 or whatever it's called, and Maverick seem to be a step in the right direction. Michael, where are you at? What are your thoughts?
I mean, I can't wait for Far Cry, right? I think Far Cry 7, we'll start with that one, right? Blackbird, that one's going to be a ton of fun. That setting seems like it's going to be absolutely fantastic. That sort of race against time, as you said. 24 hours, basically, to play the game. Make sure you get through. Curious to see what happens if you don't get it. Do you have to restart, right? We've had a lot of talks about how long games should be. I think 24 hours on the longer end, right? But when it's a race against time, sure. I bet you're going to, you're all of a sudden going to be like, oh, crap, I only have, 18 hours left. Oh, I only have 12 hours left, right? It's because Far Cry is one of those games, too. You play, you're going over here, oh, you get a quest, you get distracted, right? So it's going to be kind of fun. If they pull that off, this could be a massive game. When it comes to the extraction shooter, I'm so torn, because, right, I think a Far Cry multiplayer would be good, and as I'm thinking about it, it feels like an extraction shooter is the best way to fit what Far Cry is all about. But it's Ubisoft. Instead of wanting to make it, they're chasing trends, which, yeah. I mean, the extraction shooter genre, it's already so watered down, right? We just got Delta Force. Really, nobody has been able to rip Tarkov's grasp off of this either, right? It has been Tarkov, a new one will come out, and then it'll go away. But I'm curious, but the other thing, if we always talk about, if Shadows bombs, this game's now set for 2026. Is Ubisoft still around? Are they still operating, or has Tencent come in? Does Tencent change what's happening? There's a lot of question marks, but man, I'm going to say it, from what we know about Far Cry 7, I really want this game to come out, because it seems like it's going to be a psychological thriller.
Yeah, no, dude, I'm all down for Far Cry 7 and Maverick and both, like the new formulas of where they're going. I think the direction sounds super cool. I'm really intrigued. I can't wait to dive in. An extraction shooter I think makes a ton of sense. It's too bad that it's not already out. I think is the big thing, right? I think Far Cry has such a great opportunity to then maybe take a little bit away from the Tarkov side of things and make something special in the Far Cry universe that is the extraction shooter. And then when you get into this other side with the story content, and you have 24 hours, 72 hours of real life. Dude, super cool idea. Something we haven't seen. And it's just, I remember playing and reviewing Far Cry 6. Dude, it just felt like more Far Cry to me, right? And that was the biggest problem. It was like, yeah, this is a solid game. Like, if you're in the Far Cry series, you would love Far Cry 6. But it was just more Far Cry 6. And that was the problem for me. I'm like, man, I feel like I've already done this. We're just in a different locale with a different hero. So it's just the same, right? I think this is a huge change. It's going to really kind of spin up the formula for Far Cry and put them on a different path. And I can't wait to see what happens.